A French brand present in over 60 posh boutiques with models that look a bit like that 70s Vacheron, and I've never heard of them. How's that possible? Luckily, March LA.B have stopped the situation by sending in 2 watches. Let's have a look. Welcome to Caseback Watches. My name is Tim, and as said, our topic in this episode is the French brand March LA.B. They contacted me, they sent me a sort of a lookbook, and then I could pick watches, so it's a bit the dream for a watch fan. And I realized or saw there that they have very interesting, as said, Vacheron-like watches in shaped cases. They also have round cases, but I thought this is so interesting, these forms, to discover these forms, so that I asked them for 2 square watches. One you see here, and you will see it in the light box in a minute in detail. And the other one is super fun on the wrist. I love the other one, and I will show you that model as well, of course. But first, a bit of background here. First, the name. March is the month March, and they said it's a reference to the magic number 3. The LA stands for Los Angeles, because one of the founders is origins from Los Angeles, from the United States. And the B stands for Biarritz, which is a city in France, and the hometown or the adopted hometown from one of the other founders of the brand. So there you have this connection between France and America in this name March LA.B. And the idea behind it, I had a bit of a video call with them, and you can see it also on the lineup. The idea is to take inspirations from the 70s, from classic Swiss and French watchmaking from the 70s, without copying things or without presenting reissues. The idea is to take these ideas, to be creative with them, and to create something entirely new. And this they do with, especially with this square or these shaped cases. And they position themselves clearly above the typical micro brand, because these watches are relatively expensive, and special is that they design every bit and every part themselves and by Swiss-made movements, but the assembly of everything takes place in France, so that the quality control is easier when you do everything in one workshop, they told me. And a bit of a quirky decision is that they present you a green line on their watches. Not metaphorical, but in reality you see green on packaging, on backside of watches, on dials, etc. And so green is very important, that green line. But now let's stop here with the introduction. Let's go into the light box. Let's check out 2 watches by March LA.B. All right, let's start with the watch I fell in love with in the first second. Really in the first second. And some people will hate me for this, because that's a quirky piece. That's a quirky piece, unisex, golden, blingy. But let's open this nice box here, or this nice watch wallet, and there you go, and there it is, the March LA.B Dandy Mansart Electric Emerald watch. They market this piece here as a unisex watch, so it's rather small. My attitude towards unisex watches is somewhat indifferent. Whatever floats your boat, right? Whatever works is for me fine then. But you see a really stunning piece. But let's go over the basic measurements first, over the specifications. We have here a case width of 30 millimeters, and the length lug to lug here is 35. So we're in the region 50s rather than 70s. Really 50s man's watch. There it was pretty normal when you had handled such dimensions. The height is 7 millimeters, so very slender. The lug width is 16. Then we have a mineral glass, more of that later. And inside is a quartz movement. This is the Ronda 762 quartz caliber. And the entire construction here is watertight up to 30 meters. You see crown here nicely on position 4. This, by the way, was the feature that reminded me of Vacheron Constantin, because they had these models with this crown position. Very nice. You will see it on my wrist, of course, and then you will see that it's very handy to wear. So we have gold plating all over the watch, all over the bracelet here. Very nice combo, and I especially like the contrast. But let's debate the optic, the look later. First, the price here is 995 euros. And then I thought, or my first thought was, this, my dear brand, is a bit stiff for a quartz piece with mineral glass. But then I discovered really details and attention, and now I find it still stiff, but perhaps one can pass with that price. But now let's begin with the dial here first. We have this nice logo, March LA.B, looks very good in my eyes. You have very pure hands and indices like old watches from the 50s. So there is no loom. Then you have here made in France. Then we have, of course, the case, and this is the main attraction here, with a lot of facets, a lot of angles. Then you have a bit of brushing, you have a bit of high polish. So we have a super complex case. And also with the crown position here. The bracelet is also very interesting. It's very fine. It's a bit like textile. The feeling is a bit like textile. I had to alter it, and this is complicated. I would let this to a watchmaker because you have a pin, screwed pin, and another little pin on the other side. So you have to use two screwdrivers. And you really have to be able to manipulate very, very small things. Interesting is also the clasp, not the typical butterfly clasp. You can open it like that, and it's more a clasp for jewelry. See this on fine jewelry. It's surprisingly safe, even when it's open and you have that thing on your wrist. It's very hard actually to get it from your arm. You really have to practice a bit to do this. And now we have a good side on the case back. There you go. And here you see what I mean. This looks a bit Vacheron and Cartier. There you find a lot of angles and a lot of elements, and the build quality is immaculate. It's very, very, very good, really. Obviously not straight from the rack, obviously own developments. And if you see now all these elements I've described now, the look and the sheer amount of design here on this watch, this I think explains the high price from roughly 1,000 euros. You can get the watch, by the way, also on the leather strap. But why would you do that, right? This is, I think, such a gorgeous ensemble. Really breathes the vibes from 50s to 70s watchmaker with this flamboyant look and the willing to put this thing actually on your wrist as a man, which I will do in a second. But first, let's operate it. To tell you the truth, not very exciting. Quartz, one position, and then you set the time. And it feels like quartz. It feels really like quartz. Not very special, not very exciting, but all right, we don't notice that because there's no second hand, and so that's okay for me. And I was wearing this yesterday in a restaurant, yesterday evening. I've met friends. Nobody commented because it goes nicely under the shirt cuff, but I felt a bit like a part-time mobster with that thing on. Really, really nice. So it's a bit of like a prop from one of your favorite movies. Just a nice impression, just the nice look. You have to protect it from your wife, by the way. My wife saw it and mentioned that she has a birthday in a couple of weeks. And yeah, but what can I say? I really love it. And I really considered a deep dive into corruption and to say to them, yeah, very nice, I will keep that watch. I make you a good review. I point out that I love it, but then I will just keep the damn thing. And here's our second watch now. And this is the Mansart Automatic Grall date. My pronunciation of French names is not very good. I know that. Very sorry, but I cannot do anything against it. And let's start here again with the measurements. We have a case width here of 34 millimeters. Might sound small, but due to the case form, it wears much bigger. The case length here is 39 millimeters, so including the lugs. We have here sapphire crystal with anti-reflective coating. The case is waterproof up to 50 meters. And inside we find an automatic movement by La Joux-Perret with 68 hours power reserve, so really quality and very handy, very good to use. This watch comes here on this metal bracelet, also available on leather, but again, it makes more sense in my eyes to buy these watches on a bracelet, and then you buy your favorite strap elsewhere so that you have more options. And so let's begin here with the dial. We have a dark green. As said, they really like their green, and so you find many elements of green on this watch here. And again, we have a very simple dial with a logo, made in France, and here with a date complication. The case, you might see, is pretty similar in design to our last watch, to the Dandy Wandy here. See that? Pretty similar, bigger. Only 2 millimeters bigger on the sheet, but you see that enormous difference here. You have the crown also on position 4. You have the same type of clasp. See that? Bit like a piece of jewelry. And you have a very interesting case back. So let me open the clasp. I really have to train here a bit to open this thing. There you go. And there's now our exhibition case back where you can see the movement. A bit of a custom make on the rotor. Nice green. And the price for this watch now is 1,845 euros. So we're also in the region expensive watch. But you see a lot of, yeah, you get a lot of for this price. Let's operate it now. We have 2 positions now. With position 2 you can move the hands, you can set the time. This feels so quirky in a nice way, this crown, because the crown has this, yeah, I don't know how to call this form. It's very unusual, very unusual. You really have to get used to that, but it's fun. It's something new, and I personally like that a lot. And they told me that some elements on the date wheel are green. I think the 3 matching the March. And there it is. There's the 3 and another green as a sign of the green line that keeps these watches together. But now the question, why didn't I fall in love with this watch too? I like the build, as said, I like the form, I like the size, but I don't like the dial color so much. It looks great on some images, but in reality, it's, I don't know, for me it's just too, yeah, a bit too dull. There's not so much going on. Or perhaps I was just blind by wearing this watch here for a couple of days. So that I thought, nah. But I can imagine that people like this when you're not the super flamboyant person. But then I found out that it goes very well with contrast straps in a contrasting color. So for example, if you take the, where is it, Caseback number 2, for example, with that brownish cognac tone, this delivers really something else then. And there you go. And you see 17 centimeter wrist. And you see the size of this watch, 34 millimeters in width. And it wears pretty dominant. And here it is on the strap. Caseback number 2 strap. Quite a different look. And so you really can do a lot with this strap watch combo. Just nice. Just nice. But one thing I really found a bit strange is this is mineral glass. March LA.B, when you're watching this, is this a mistake in the description? Because why mineral glass on a 1,000 euro watch? It doesn't make so much sense. And I mean, this form for a sapphire is not super complicated because it's flat. And so, yeah, this was a bit of a downside I saw here. But overall, if you see our lineup here, I'm super happy with that. I'm super happy with the decision to order these square watches because it delivers really something special. Welcome back, and now I have some more watches for you, some very interesting models sent in form of images by viewers to caseback.watches@icloud.com. And here the first one you see comes from Darius. He's from Germany, and he writes, "Hello Tim, I really enjoy your content. I'm sending you pictures of my Hamilton khaki field mechanical bronze from a ferry heading to the beautiful German island Hiddensee, which is actually free of cars. I wish the Hamilton would be more true to the original. I wish it'd be 36 instead of 38 millimeters, and I wish it would have a 4 Hz ETA instead of the Swatch Group 80 hours 3 Hz H50. Nevertheless, I'm wearing it almost every day as I don't worry about scratches, as they seem to complement the watch, rather than to take anything away from it. I also love how the patina changes depending on different lighting situations and depending on the different activities I have been doing. To me it's an imperfect watch, maybe that's why I think of it as incredibly charming, wouldn't change it for the world. Greetings, Darius." Yeah, thank you very much. I really like that approach that you say it's not perfect, but I like it and I don't worry about scratches, which is kind of strange. When you love something, then you have the tendency to protect it against everything from the outer world. But we watch geeks were somewhat different, I think, and I'm the same brew. Sometimes I think, especially with my Laurier Neptune, I love that watch, and I took it into the ocean or in the Mediterranean Sea many times, covered with scratches. Looks awesome, exactly like that. And that's also an awesome piece here, the Hamilton. And that strap combo is just amazing, I must say. Really, really well done. So thank you very much, Darius, for sending in this watch. So next one here comes from Mel from the United States, longtime supporter and viewer of the channel. And he writes, "Hello Tim, just wanted to say thank you again for having made me aware of Julian Kampmann so many months ago. Julian Kampmann is Polio24, online shop for Russian and Chinese watches and some vintage pieces." And Mel writes, he continues here, "I have purchased a number of watches from him since I first saw your episode on vintage GOB watches that Julian offered or offers. My recent purchase from Julian is one that I know you will appreciate. An NOS 1960s Wimple dress watch that is 35 millimeters and 8 millimeters in height on a gorgeous 1931 Rios strap. This has the Caseback Tim class all over it." I mean, yes, gorgeous looking watch, and I love that logo, what a Wimple. Wimple. You cannot read it when you're not Russian, of course, but it looks so great. And of course, this is a classic. This is a classic gold-plated case, I assume. And with these measurements here, just nice. And then often people wonder or worry, can I wear these 35 millimeters when I have a larger wrist? And the answer is yes, you can, because you're in a different genre there, and the expectations are different. You are in that forgotten, almost forgotten world where you wear the watch under your shirt cuff. So great find, and I bet this was pretty affordable because Julian makes great prices. It's really a gem, and if you're into these watches, then this is a really good source. I'm not affiliated with him, by the way, it's just my impression. And our last watch now comes from Andrew, and this is a Gekota. And he writes, "Hello Tim, I bought this watch last week. It is a limited edition numbered micro brand. Though inexpensive, I found it both attractive and practical. The 36.8mm diameter is in keeping with current taste, and the Miyota 9039 within is almost noiseless, though this may relate more to my hearing. On my time grapher it runs within cost limits. The lume is also acceptable. Most compelling is the subtle understated coloring, fixed bezel and well-matched suede strap. I thought you might find this interesting." Yeah, Gekota is an interesting brand, and in fact I've reached out to them in the beginning of the channel, where the channel was really, really small, and they ghosted me. Never get a reply, but I saw many of their watches in forums, for example. They're very popular in German watch forums, or not very popular, but you see them from time to time. And always something interesting, always something interesting. They have this how to describe, this rockabilly feeling, maybe because of the logo and these colors. So absolutely interesting piece you have there. So thank you very much for sending this in. And dear viewer, as always, if you want to participate here, then you can send in wrist shots or nice sights or everything combined. Horizontal format looks best on screen to casebackwatches@icloud.com. Okay, and that's all for this episode. Thank you very much for your attention, and until next time.